The very first episode of Landman Season 2 does not waste a single second because how could it? Season 1 ended with Monty Miller's sudden and shocking death, a moment that didn't just kill off a titan of the oil world, but tore open the stage for a ruthless new power struggle. And standing at the center of it all are two people who cannot and will not back down, Tommy Norris and Cammy Miller. Episode 1 makes it crystal clear that Cammy is done being seen as the grieving widow. She's stepping into Monty's seat at the head of the table, determined to prove to the powerful bankers and oil men around her that she is tougher, meaner, and more dangerous than her late husband ever was. But Tommy knows that if he lets Cammy take full control, everything he's built, and everything he's fought for, could crumble. His line in the trailer says it all. "She owns the company, but I run it." That line is more than a statement. It's a declaration of war. And as episode 1 unfolds, that war begins in ways more brutal and shocking than anyone could have predicted. Yet the episode doesn't stop at business conflicts. At its heart, Landman is about family, and Season 2, Episode 1 digs deeper into Tommy's personal life than ever before. Angela is by his side, fighting to hold their world together while protecting their daughter Anninsley, who is preparing to leave for college. But just as Anninsley dreams of escaping the chaos, Tommy's dangerous new alliances drag the family into even darker waters. His uneasy partnership with the cartel explodes into Episode 1, putting not just his company, but his family in direct danger. The cartel doesn't wait, they don't negotiate, they demand loyalty, and loyalty comes with blood. That tension bleeds into every moment of Episode 1, forcing Tommy into choices where every option could destroy him. And then comes the twist that fans have been waiting for, Sam Elliott's arrival. His character, the man Tommy calls Pops, finally steps out of the shadows, and from the very first moment, his presence changes everything. Pops is no ordinary father figure. He is a legend in his own right, rumored to be the original Landman, the one whose choices carved the path that Tommy is now forced to walk. In Episode 1, his return isn't just emotional, it's explosive. Because Pops doesn't come back to comfort his son. He comes back to control him, to question his decisions, and to remind him that the Norris name belongs to him, not Tommy. The cliffhanger ending of Episode 1 makes it clear this is not going to be a father-son reunion. This is going to be a generational clash where blood ties mean nothing compared to power. But just when you think that's enough firepower for one episode, Billy Bob Thornton's character is introduced. And let's be honest, Billy Bob doesn't play small roles. He plays game changers. His presence in Episode 1 hints at a man who doesn't just watch from the sidelines, but steps into the heart of conflict with the kind of danger and unpredictability that could destroy everyone involved. Whether he's tied to the cartel, the oil empire, or an entirely new threat, one thing is certain. His connection to Tommy and Pops will ignite another battle that could burn West Texas to the ground. Episode 1 of Landman Season 2 is not just a premiere. It's a declaration that the stakes have never been higher. It sets the tone for a season where alliances will shatter, families will fracture, and power will come at a cost too heavy for anyone to bear. Sam Elliott brings the weight of history. Billy Bob Thornton brings the chaos of unpredictability. And Tommy Norris, caught between them, may find himself facing battles he cannot win. That's what makes this premiere so thrilling. It's not just about what happens in the oil fields, it's about legacy, betrayal, and survival. And after Episode 1, it's clear this is Tommy's biggest battle yet. If Season 1 showed us how dangerous the oil game in West Texas could be, then Season 2, Episode 1 is the brutal reminder that every move has consequences, and Tommy Norris is now playing a game where the rules don't exist. The episode wastes no time in showing how the balance of power has shifted. With Monty gone, the vultures are circling, and Cammy Miller is stepping into a role that nobody thought she could handle. But instead of breaking under pressure, Cammy thrives. Her speech to the bankers doesn't just establish her authority, it shakes the room. The line, "The only difference between me and my husband is I'm meaner," isn't just dialogue, it's a warning, a chilling promise that she will do whatever it takes to secure control. And right there, Tommy realizes he's not just dealing with another grieving widow. He's dealing with a rival who knows him too well, someone who was close enough to Monty to understand every weakness in his strategy, and now intends to use that knowledge against Tommy himself. But the oil business is only one battlefield. Episode 1 draws us into Tommy's family life, and for the first time we start to see just how much pressure he's under behind closed doors. Angela, his wife, is trying to hold the family together, but she knows the truth. Every deal Tommy makes, every enemy he angers, puts them in greater danger. The cartel's shadow looms over every scene, and while Tommy insists he can handle it, Angela's fears are not unfounded. The cartel doesn't forgive, and they don't forget. Tommy's deal with Andy Garcia's character means that the Norris family has become a pawn in a deadly game. The moment the cartel feels betrayed, they won't hesitate to come after Angela, and Inslee, or anyone Tommy loves. This isn't just business, it's personal, and that's what makes the stakes unbearable. Then, as the pressure builds, we get our first look at Sam Elliott's Pops. His introduction isn't soft, it isn't sentimental. It's sharp, calculated, and deeply unsettling. The phone call Tommy makes to him reveals their strained relationship, but nothing prepares us for seeing him in person. Pops carries the weight of history, and when he steps into episode 1, the entire dynamic of the show changes. For years, Tommy has carried himself as a fixer, a survivor, a man who can bend the rules without letting them break him. But Pops is the man who taught him those rules, and he's not impressed with what his son has become. Their confrontation doesn't feel like a family reunion. It feels like the opening of an old wound that never healed. Pops is not here to guide Tommy. He's here to judge him, to remind him that the Norris name belongs to him, not Tommy. And if Tommy thought Cammy was going to be his biggest problem this season, Pop's return proves he was wrong. But Landman has never been about just one storyline, and episode 1 makes that clear by introducing yet another game changer, Billy Bob Thornton. His arrival is quiet but chilling, and you can feel the energy shift the moment he steps into the narrative. He is the kind of character who doesn't announce his intentions. He lets his presence speak for itself. And that's what makes him so dangerous. Whether he's tied to the cartel, the oil world, or Pop's past, Billy Bob's character embodies chaos. He's unpredictable, and that unpredictability is the very thing that makes him such a threat. You can sense that whatever he brings to season 2, it will not just shake Tommy's world, it will turn it upside down. Episode 1 ends with layers of conflict piled on top of each other. Tommy locked in a power struggle with Cammy, facing cartel threats that could wipe out his family, confronting his father's suffocating influence, and now staring down the arrival of Billy Bob Thornton's character. It's too much for one man to handle, and yet that's exactly why the show works. Because Tommy Norris is not the kind of man who walks away, he's the kind of man who fights until he has nothing left. And in episode 1, we see that fight begin. The brilliance of this premiere lies in how it doesn't give us time to breathe. There's no slow build-up, no easing into the story. Instead, we're thrown straight into the fire, and with every scene, the tension escalates. The cartel is circling, Pops is demanding control, Cammy is claiming power, and Billy Bob's shadow looms larger with every passing moment. Season 2 isn't just about oil. It's about legacy, betrayal, and survival. And after episode 1, it's clear. Tommy's fight is only just beginning, and it may cost him everything. The third layer of episode 1 takes us even deeper into the dangerous web that Landman season 2 is weaving, and this is where the tension becomes almost unbearable. Because it's not just one storyline pulling at Tommy Norris, it's all of them colliding at once. Cammy's sudden rise to power, Pop's suffocating return, Billy Bob Thornton's ominous entrance, and the cartel's looming threats all crash together in ways that remind us why this show feels like the Texas version of Yellowstone. But instead of cattle and ranch wars, we're dealing with oil fields, billion-dollar empires, and the kind of corruption that doesn't just ruin lives, it consumes them. Episode 1 makes it clear that survival isn't about who's the smartest or who's the richest. It's about who's willing to go the furthest. and Tommy is about to find out just how far his enemies are prepared to go. Let's start with Cammy, because she's the first big force Tommy has to face. After Monty's death, some viewers may have expected her to fade into the background, but episode 1 turns her into a revelation. No longer hiding in her husband's shadow, she now sits at the head of the table, commanding respect with sheer willpower and venom. The line where she tells the bankers she's meaner than Monty isn't just a passing threat, it's the thesis of her entire arc this season. She is no longer the grieving wife. She's the ruler of Monty's empire, and she's willing to clash with Tommy to protect what she believes is hers. The tension between them crackles in every scene, and you can feel that this battle won't end with words. It will end with devastation. And Tommy, for all his experience and survival instincts, is suddenly fighting an enemy who knows him on a personal level, someone who has watched him up close, studied his every move, and is now using that knowledge to outmaneuver him. Then there's Pops. Sam Elliott's arrival at the end of episode 1 is nothing short of monumental. We've heard whispers about the original Landman, and now we finally meet him face to face. And instead of being a comforting figure from Tommy's past, Pops is a storm waiting to be unleashed. The way he steps back into his son's life feels less like a reunion and more like an ambush. Pops doesn't see Tommy as a man who built his own empire. He sees him as a reckless child who squandered the Norris legacy. And the cruel truth is, Pops may not be wrong. His return raises the question, is Tommy truly the Landman, or is he just living in the shadow of the man who started it all? That generational conflict is about to tear them apart, and episode 1 sets the stage for a season where family ties are more dangerous than rivalries. The way Pops looks at his son in those final moments says it all. Tommy isn't just fighting for control of an oil company, he's fighting for his father's approval and maybe even his father's respect. But what if Pops isn't capable of giving either? And then comes Billy Bob Thornton. His character doesn't storm into episode 1 with loud threats or grand declarations. He does something much scarier. He arrives quietly, calculated, letting the silence do the work. Billy Bob has always had a way of playing men who live in the gray areas of morality, and here, his presence screams one thing: danger. You don't know if he's an ally or an enemy, and that uncertainty makes him terrifying. What's worse is the sense that he knows more than he should, that he's one step ahead of everyone else. If Pops represents the past and Cammy represents the present, then Billy Bob feels like the future, an unpredictable, destructive force that could flip the entire game on its head. Whether he's tied to the cartel or carving out his own empire, episode 1 makes one thing clear. He is here to stay, and Tommy has no idea how to handle him. And hovering above all of this is the cartel. Their shadow stretches long across the premiere, and every deal Tommy makes feels like a trap tightening around his neck. Andy Garcia's character doesn't need to appear in every scene to remind us of the danger. His influence is everywhere. Every whispered threat, every nervous glance from Tommy, every warning from Angela makes it clear. The cartel owns a piece of Tommy now, and they don't intend to let go. What makes this subplot so thrilling is the moral dilemma it forces onto Tommy. Can he really protect his family while dealing with criminals who view loyalty as life and betrayal as death? Episode 1 doesn't give us the answer, but it shows us just how precarious Tommy's situation has become. By the time the credits roll, episode 1 feels less like a beginning and more like a collision course. Cammy versus Tommy. Pops versus his own son. Billy Bob versus everyone. The cartel versus the entire Norris family. And at the center of it all is a man trying desperately to hold it together while everything around him burns. The brilliance of this writing is that it doesn't feel like 4 different storylines. It feels like one massive storm, with Tommy caught in the eye of it. That's why Landman is so addictive. It isn't just about oil or family or crime. It's about survival in a world where power is the only currency, and mercy doesn't exist. Episode 1 doesn't just set the stage for Season 2, it raises the stakes higher than anyone expected. And if this premiere is any indication, the battles ahead will not just test Tommy's strength as a businessman or as a fighter. They will test him as a father, as a husband, and as a son. And the terrifying question is, what if he fails on all fronts? Episode 1 of Landman Season 2 doesn't just drop viewers into chaos, it surrounds them with it, layer by layer, until it becomes almost impossible to breathe. By the time the story starts unfolding, the tension between Tommy and Cammy is already palpable. Cammy isn't content to play second fiddle. She has Monty's empire to run, and she knows exactly how to leverage the power at her disposal. In her first scenes, we see her move like a chess master, analyzing every player around her, predicting every move, and exploiting every weakness. Her words to the bankers, her calculated gestures, and even the way she interacts with Tommy scream one message loud and clear: I am not to be underestimated. Tommy's usual confidence and street-smart instincts are tested almost immediately. He realizes that Cammy doesn't just want power, she wants control, and she wants to prove that she's smarter, tougher, and more dangerous than anyone in the room. The clash between these two is set up as the central tension of Season 2, and Episode 1 makes it clear that it won't be resolved in a single scene, or even a single episode. Then there's Pops. Sam Elliott's character brings with him not only gravitas, but also a sense of history and legacy that hangs over Tommy like a shadow. From the moment he appears, the audience can feel that his presence is both a comfort and a threat. He has knowledge, connections, and experience that Tommy can't compete with yet, and his influence is subtle but crushing. The dialogue in Episode 1 hints at past mistakes, untold secrets, and the weight of expectations that Tommy has been carrying his entire life without realizing it. Every glance, every pause in conversation between Pops and Tommy is loaded with meaning. Pops doesn't need to yell or scream. He simply exists as a reminder that power, respect, and survival come at a cost that Tommy may not be ready to pay. Their first interaction feels like a test, one in which Tommy is already starting at a disadvantage. It's clear that Pops's motives are complicated. He loves his son in a way that is twisted, protective, yet controlling, and he intends to mold Tommy into the man he believes the Norris family deserves. But whether that means guiding him or breaking him remains to be seen, and Episode 1 keeps us on the edge of our seats with that uncertainty. Billy Bob Thornton's character adds another layer of unpredictability that makes Episode 1 feel like walking through a minefield. He doesn't enter with fanfare, but his presence is felt instantly. The way the episode teases his connections to either the cartel or other unseen forces makes every scene he's in feel dangerous. Unlike Cammy, whose power is visible and structured, or Pops, whose authority is historical and personal, Billy Bob's influence is shadowy and enigmatic. He represents chaos, and in Episode 1, chaos is exactly what the show wants us to feel. His interactions are minimal but charged. Every word, every gesture carries weight, hinting that he knows more than he should. Is he an ally? Is he an enemy? Episode 1 leaves these questions deliberately unanswered, keeping viewers guessing and adding tension that will ripple throughout the entire season. The unpredictability of his presence makes Tommy's already impossible situation feel even more dangerous. And while these massive characters are battling for influence, the cartel looms over every moment like a dark cloud ready to explode. Tommy's alliance with Andy Garcia's character isn't just a subplot. It's a ticking time bomb. Episode 1 reminds us that the cartel doesn't forgive mistakes. Loyalty is demanded, and betrayal is met with death. Every deal Tommy attempts, every decision he makes in front of Cammy, Pops, or Billy Bob, feels like a potential trigger for disaster. The danger isn't hypothetical, it's immediate. The tension escalates as Episode 1 moves forward, and it becomes clear that Tommy is juggling more than just business. He's trying to protect his family, his legacy, and his very life all at once. And every step he takes feels like walking a razor's edge. Episode 1 ends with a cliffhanger that sets the tone for the rest of Season 2. Cammy's rise, Pop's return, Billy Bob's shadowy influence, and the cartel's looming threats all converge, leaving viewers breathless and desperate for what comes next. The brilliance of this premiere is that it doesn't give us answers, it gives us questions, and each question is more terrifying than the last. Will Tommy maintain control of the company while navigating Cammy's power and Pops' expectations? Can he survive the cartel while protecting his family? What is Billy Bob Thornton really after, and how far will he go to get it? Episode 1 doesn't just promise a season of conflict. It guarantees that every character will be pushed to their limits, every alliance will be tested, and every decision will have consequences that echo far beyond West Texas. As Episode 1 of Landman Season 2 comes to a close, one thing is crystal clear. Tommy Norris is standing at the crossroads of power, danger, and family, and every choice he makes from this point forward could change the course of his life forever. Cammy has claimed her place at the head of Monty's empire, proving she is no longer the widow waiting in the shadows. She has the ambition, the intellect, and the ruthlessness to challenge Tommy at every turn, and Episode 1 doesn't shy away from showing just how high the stakes are when these two forces collide. Their confrontations aren't just about the company. They're about pride, history, and survival. Every word exchanged between them is a spark that could ignite a fire too dangerous to control, and by the end of the premiere, viewers can feel that the war between Tommy and Cammy is only just beginning. The tension is thick, palpable, and impossible to ignore. Then there's Pops, Sam Elliott's character, whose return adds a layer of history and intensity to Tommy's world that was missing in Season 1. Episode 1 doesn't treat this reunion lightly. Pops isn't here to offer easy answers or soft guidance. He is here to challenge Tommy, to push him, and to remind him of the legacy he inherited and the expectations he has yet to meet. Every interaction between father and son feels loaded, as if a single misstep could unravel not just their relationship, but everything Tommy has worked to build. Pop's presence raises questions about the family legacy that will echo throughout Season 2. Questions about power, loyalty, and whether Tommy can truly live up to the name Landman while forging his own path. Billy Bob Thornton's character further complicates Tommy's already precarious position. Episode 1 teases a man whose motives are unclear, whose alliances are uncertain, and whose presence is enough to make every decision Tommy makes feel like a potential disaster. Unlike Cammy or Pops, whose intentions are easier to define, Billy Bob's arrival is a wild card. He embodies unpredictability, danger, and the kind of tension that keeps audiences on the edge of their seats. One cannot help but wonder, will he be an ally, an enemy, or something even more dangerous? Someone who blurs the lines between friend and foe, trust and betrayal? Episode 1 plants these seeds carefully, leaving viewers desperate to know what role he will play in the battles that are about to unfold. The cartel subplot in Episode 1 serves as a relentless reminder that Tommy's world is one misstep away from chaos. His alliances with dangerous forces outside the law add urgency to every move he makes, and every decision feels weighted with potential consequences. The stakes aren't just about power or money, they're about survival, and more importantly, the safety of the people Tommy loves. Angela's struggle to hold the family together, and Ninsley's step into independence, and Tommy's desperate balancing act between family and empire all converge to create a storyline that is as emotionally compelling as it is thrilling. Episode 1 doesn't just introduce conflicts, it establishes the pressures, the moral dilemmas, and the dangers that will dominate Season 2, ensuring viewers are invested from the very first moment. By the end of the premiere, Episode 1 leaves us with a cliffhanger that feels monumental. The combination of Cammy's power play, Pops' overwhelming presence, Billy Bob Thornton's mysterious influence, and the looming threat of the cartel sets the stage for a season that promises to be more intense, more dramatic, and more unpredictable than anything viewers have seen before. Tommy Norris is no longer just a fixer or survivor. He is at the center of a storm that will test his loyalty, courage, and ability to navigate a world where every choice has a price. With Season 2 officially kicking off, the premiere confirms one undeniable truth. This isn't just another season of Landman. This is Tommy's biggest battle yet. The stakes are sky high, the enemies are formidable, and the only certainty is that no one, not even Tommy, will emerge unscathed. As viewers, all we can do is buckle in, because Episode 1 sets a standard of suspense, drama, and family conflict that will define the rest of the season. And with the premiere dropping soon, fans are left counting down the days, anxiously awaiting the next move in a game where power, betrayal, and survival collide in ways that will break you, thrill you, and keep you coming back for more.